Hey everyone, this is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today I am joined by my friends and colleagues to break down all of the major astrological transits for the month of October. There are a bunch of really interesting things happening this month. Of course, one of the big headlines that we covered in horoscopes were the Grand Water Trine. So you'll also get horoscopes on those Grand Water Trines that are coming really from the end of October through early December. And that's also going to be a feature of what we look at today with our monthly overview. But before I do that, as always, remember to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell for updates and notifications when our newest episodes drop. You can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on the website, which is nightlightastrology.com. When you are there, the one thing that I want to be sure that you check out, I'm going to take you over there right now. Go to the courses page, click on first year course. Our next program, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic, begins November 8th, excuse me. And there's a video there that will tell you all about it. Also tagged on to the end of today's content, this informational video will give you the breakdown of everything the course includes over a full year of study together. It's a great program. I hope to see some new faces coming up soon. At the bottom, you'll find the early bird rates are available until October 24th. That saves you significantly on the cost of the course. There's also need-based tuition assistance. So if you're someone who would like to take the course, but maybe exchange rates are high, you're on a limited income, you're between jobs, you're a single parent, whatever the case might be, we try to make sure that people are not priced out of studying something sacred. So please do take advantage of that. It's there for you. It's there for anyone who needs it. And we hope to see some of you in classes soon. All right. Well, on that note, I am very excited to welcome everyone back on the team for the breakdown of October's astrology. But before I do that, I am taking a moment to honor and acknowledge the staff of readers that we have had in the donation-based student clinic for the past year, offering donation-based readings to all of you in the audience. We have had hundreds and hundreds, I think something like 600 people have come through readings in the past year through this affordable reading service that we also offer. And we have a group of readers that's going out and a new group of readers who's coming in as we rotate, try to give opportunities to new people. So I'm going to bring a few people onto the screen right now who have been a part of our staff for the past year as readers. Not everyone could be here today, but these are some of the readers that probably some of you out there have had readings with Emily, Marjorie, Ryan, and others, Casey, Mark, Sushila. And I just want to say, first of all, thank you guys so much for your year of service to Nightlight. It's been really amazing to have you. And we have gotten nothing but awesome feedback from all the wonderful people who've had readings with you guys.
Thank you. It's been such an honor.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to make sure that as you're going out, you have a moment to say maybe any summarizing thoughts or feelings about your year of getting so many clients. For many people, it's hard to get readings. So the vision of this is to provide talented students through our programs an opportunity to develop their practice and also give back to the community an affordable reading service. Maybe we could start with Emily. We'll just go around real quick. What was your experience like over the past year? What are your takeaways? And then, tell folks how they can find you going forward, and I'll flash your socials up on the screen.
Yeah, it's been really fantastic. I have to say, I met with my 100th client yesterday. Since my birthday in early December, I've been keeping track, and the overwhelming majority through the reading service. It has been incredible. I have learned so much. I have loved connecting with my clients, and really this whole experience has solidified for me that the consultation space is what I absolutely love to do. I love meeting with people and hearing their stories and showing how that is reflected by the astrology. So yeah, it's been fantastic. Going forward, you can still book a reading with me through my website. It's up there on the screen, emilytatomer.com. I'm on Instagram at Emily T Astrology. I do have intentions of starting a YouTube channel, which will be the same name, Emily T Astrology, in the next couple of months. And I'm also one of my reading service clients who's become kind of a colleague and a friend. She has a page called Magnetize Your Light, a group. So I'm offering a little kind of class to her subscribers on Neptune in November. So that's upcoming, doing a little Neptune class. Yeah, I'm around. Come see me. And I do have to say, having been in class with almost all of the upcoming readers over the last several years and met at least half of them in person at NORWAC, including a dear friend of mine, Monique White, who's not here today, y'all are in great hands. The new readers coming in are fantastic. So yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Emily. Yeah, I so appreciate you. Emily also has transitioned into helping out with our monthly horoscopes. You probably recognize Emily helping out on that team now as well. Ryan, tell us a little bit about your experience over the past year, and also, how can people stay in touch with you going forward? You have been, just before I let you go, you've been nothing but an amazing addition to the Nightlight community. And especially Ryan organized and held meetings for the reading staff to discuss what they were learning and how they were growing as readers, and facilitated that, which we deeply appreciate, because we couldn't have done that without someone taking the initiative. So we really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it's been just an absolute honor to be part of this team. I've learned so much from the just incredible diversity of individuals that came to have readings from me. And one of the things that I found really kind of surprising, and maybe I shouldn't have, is simply how I was able to, in basically every person's chart that came to get a reading from me, I was able to find some kind of connection between their chart and my chart. I'm a Sag rising. I had so many Sag rising people come, or, our moon signs were the same, or we had planets at the same degree or something like that. So, that kind of like blew my mind that that would be the case. But, everybody that came to me said they felt really drawn to coming to me personally. So I felt really honored by that. And it's just been wonderful to be part of this team, and all the readers and all the staff, and you, Adam, just incredible to be part of this experience. People can book readings with me at my website. It's there on the screen, ryan-hunt.com. You do have to remember the dash, because there's just a lot of people with my name out there in the world. So feel free to book a reading with me there. My social handle there is on the screen now, Astrology by Ryan. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, pretty much every social platform. You can search for me at the same handle. And I'm going to be giving a talk in the upcoming speaker series on October 5th. That's going to be on astrocartography and how to use Hellenistic astrological techniques to help interpret the astrocartography maps. So that's going to be exciting. And then I'm also speaking in NCGR San Francisco is hosting an in-person, and I think they're going to be doing some video broadcasting of it too, a mini conference. There's going to be 3 people speaking, and I was honored to be one of them, along with Grace Cloyd and Georgia Stathis. So those are the 2 upcoming talks that I've got going on. And other than that, feel free to book a reading with me. I also do ongoing coaching and mentoring. So if people are, starting on their path of learning astrology, I do also offer mentoring packages. And just really honored to be here, and wishing everybody in the upcoming clinic that's joining all the best. And I too have met so many of them and can absolutely vouch for them. Yeah, It's been an honor. Thank you.
I flashed up on the screen there Ryan's talk that's coming up through the speaker series. Go to the events page and click on speaker series, and it's free to attend. You just got to register, so we send you the Zoom link. But that's coming up again on October 5th. Can't wait for that. And I didn't mean to block out your face there. Apparently I did temporarily, but anyway, thank you so much, Marjorie. Last but not least, and I'll tell you about the other readers who couldn't be here today and where you can find them too in a second. But Marjorie was a TA for some of our programs for, I think, over a year, and also a reader for us, and just one of my favorite people that I've known in my career as an astrologer. Because I met Marjorie giving a talk at like a grocery store meeting room outside of Philadelphia years ago, and we managed to stay connected. And then she came through Nightlight and has played all these important roles. And just love you dearly, Marjorie. And I'm really glad that you've been here.
Thank you, Adam. And thank you, everyone. I echo what Ryan and Emily have said. Being a part of the first group through the reading clinic has been such a joy. And so many people, so all of the clients actually that have come through the reading clinic, in my experience, have had just so much enthusiasm and curiosity about astrology. And not only was my experience as a reader really positive, but also as a group. You know, we work in isolation as astrologers, and it's so important to cultivate networks and people who are experiencing the same challenges that we experience as providers. So, as you mentioned, the group that Ryan had provided, supported us with camaraderie, but it helps us be better service providers. It helps us support our clients in through greater depths. So all around, being a part of a team is one of my favorite things, but also serving so many people with such a passion for the Nightlight community and astrology has been an honor over the past year. So thank you all. I've built some lasting relationships with some repeat clients. And one of the greatest takeaways for me has been the themes. I think similar to what Ryan was saying, that the charts have been revealing to me, like, I have an interest in the nodes right now, and then prominent node placements are not only teaching me what I'm curious about, but it's providing me with dialogue with the clients. So it was an awesome opportunity. Thank you so much. You can find me at marjoriecottrell.com. I obviously, under my services tab, have readings listed. I do tutoring and mentorship for anyone who is in the programs. I love working on mystery charts with people, and I'm really good at being a cheerleader and motivating you. And I'm passionate about creating a safe, sacred space for you to find a way to use your voice to speak the symbols. It's a lot different than talking or than typing them or writing them. Talking them is it was a big hurdle for me. So I like to support people as they navigate that. I also have a couple other things on my website, a downloadable workshop called Astrology Workshop for Creatives, where we unpack some creative charts. You also get a workbook when you download that we can work through some of the techniques. And then lastly, I'm a retreat host, so you'll see information about my annual retreat up there, and a retreat book that I am just about finished, where we kind of go through the lunar phases, and I walk you through with worksheets and ideas, and of course cheerleading on how to see your retreat goals come to fruition, because we're living in a time where community and convening with other people is really important for us. So I'm trying to cultivate that through my work. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Marjorie. You can find her at marjoriecottrell.com. Totally worth booking a reading with. Marjorie was one of our main tutors in our programs, has been through everything at Nightlight. So yeah, just a big thank you to you guys. Thanks for your year of service. We're going to move on now, so we'll say goodbye, but I hope everyone will stay in touch with you guys, and you also will stay in touch with Nightlight. All right, take it easy, guys. Bye. Welcome back to all of my friends and colleagues here to break down your astrology for the month of October. Hey, guys.
Hey, how's it going, Adam?
Hey.
We're back. I am really excited to take a look at the astrology of the month of October. We have a lot of big things happening this month. Probably the biggest thing, arguably the biggest thing in the month, is going to be this Grand Water Trine, which starts recurring. And we're all probably going to be talking about this the next couple of months we get together. But yeah, before we do that, I just want to maybe go around and any thoughts or reflections on eclipse season that we covered last month, because it was pretty epic. I mean, at least for me, it was. Certainly in the collective, we were noticing a lot of things. Just any reflections you guys want to share on eclipse season before we dive into October?
Yeah, I will happily share. So this past month in general has just been very interesting. So the Jupiter-Mars square, Gemini ascendant. So Jupiter right now is in Cancer, second house. Mars is in my fifth house. The best term that I could use is financial assault on like my resources from my actual business. So it was the weirdest thing. Contracts got all like weirded out and mixed up. And it was like, hey, you need to come up with this insane amount for like these couple of months. And I was just like, how did this even happen? And so that was like the first thing that catalyzed. And then because the eclipse occurred in like my fourth house in Virgo, And as Bianca, like I talked to her, like I'm going through this weird transformation of like jobs and like identity and like what am I doing? Like it's all of these things. And so when the eclipse occurred in Virgo, kind of right after that, it's like I've got to start being serious. Like, what is the base foundation here? Like, what are we doing? What's actually becoming of this? What do we need to start pruning? But it has just been like for me personally kind of heavy. Like, boom, like get to work. Like, what's not working for you? Like, let's start getting rid of it. So it's been interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was interesting that the lunar eclipse in a Jupiter ruled sign with the Mars square Jupiter coincided with some pretty serious attacks on religious or political people or figures or institute. There's a couple of very public attacks on astrology. Of course, you had a right-wing activist that was assassinated. I mean, just the theme of Mars Jupiter around that first eclipse to me was like, whoa, wasn't.
Yep.
It's funny because, you know, it's like I had looked at that and even talked about it on YouTube as something toning the eclipse, but it came across pretty strong, didn't it?
It really did. It hit me personally, but I was just like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Anyone else? No other commentary on the eclipses? We're just going to let it roll.
Yeah, you guys are sailing through it. Wow.
I mean, it actually was pretty mellow for me, which was nice because, like, I don't know, just having a solar return in the midst of it, like I was expecting maybe something to go a little awry, but we had some duck losses. Like we raised ducks, and so around each eclipse there was a duck, just like natural causes just kind of left the flock. A predator attack with the solar eclipse, but no existential crises here. So I'm rolling with it.
Fair enough. It's funny you mention a predator because the lunar eclipse coincided with one of our dogs getting a bunny that we had. And that was like, for my daughter, was like terrible. It was like the worst thing ever. Anyway, dogs, you know, it's like there was a lot of learning there for us as humans. So it was but that was the lunar eclipse. But anyway, what Bianca, you were about to say something.
Yeah, no, I just think with the solar eclipse happening in my 9th house of Virgo, when you were bringing up all the stuff around astrology, it did kind of remind me of just some of the things that I was like. It made me like kind of reflect on how I feel about astrology and how much I love it so much, and like how can there be so much opposition. So it was like I had to really dig in deep and be like, okay, there's the naysayers out there, but I still feel convicted in what I believe, you know. So it was almost like this 9th house kind of like digging in deep to like search for like what really matters to me and what resonates with me. So it was like quite fitting. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I mean, it was a big month, and I think we have a lot to get into here for October. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to start hold on just a second. Let me move some things around here so that I have space on my screens. We have the month broken into segments again for you guys. And at the beginning of the month, Tim is going to take us on a little journey through some of the big aspects happening right away, including a full moon. Let me get this up on the screen so that Tim can start us off here. And then we'll get going. Okay, so I am going to... And magically, I think your face is not going to get covered up today. I think Bianca's the lucky
It's
one.
me.
So why don't I just outline the transits as we're going to be talking about them. Tim's going to cover this first little sequence between the 1st and the 7th. On the 1st, we have Mercury squaring Jupiter from Libra to Cancer. We're going to go forward. Next major transit is going to be the full moon in the sign of Aries. That is going to come through on the 6th. And then one day later, Mercury in Scorpio, let me just outline this here. Mercury in Scorpio. Well, you know what? I don't have my outer planets in. That's funny. Let me put them back in so we can see them. So Mercury will square Pluto is the point, and that will take place from Aquarius, Scorpio to Aquarius. So there we are. So this little sequence really is opening the month in that first week, and Tim's going to take us through each of those aspects as they go. Bianca, your face gets to be cut off temporarily because I still, like, I swear to God, I did all the research. There is no way to put a banner up and avoid getting your face covered when you have 4 or 5 people on the panel. So anyway, Tim, take us away.
Absolutely. We still love you, Bianca. We can see you. So starting with on the 1st, we've got Mercury at 22 Libra, squaring Jupiter at 22 Cancer. I like to call Mercury in this position kind of like this futurist kind of serial co-founder. And the reason that I say that is because Mercury is carrying in Gemini. He still has Uranus. And so Uranus still wants to bring this innovation. He has like these ideas. Yes, Uranus is retrograde, so maybe it's bringing back old ideas or like reimagining some ideas. So Mercury is in Libra, airy cardinal masculine sign of Venus. So he wants to be co-productive. He wants to create relationships, clear contracts about the things that are agreed upon. But in typical Mercury fashion, you know, he wants to have some good communication and just have a little bit of fun with it. So in some balancing affairs, right? So the other thing I want to consider is Venus. And Venus is currently in her fall in Virgo. So that is going to flavor the house a little bit of Libra. Venus in Virgo, the typical terms are overthinking or nitpicking. I like to delineate Venus as beauty is in the eye of the beholder, attraction. All of the Venus significations are so subjective. And the moment that Mercury, or at least Virgo, wants to pull out a checkbox and say, hey, so like, why is that beautiful? Is it like because it's red or slightly pink, or is it green? And Venus is like, girl, it's just pretty. Like, why do we have to quantify this? And so it's like, it takes the fun and like the natural attraction out of things when we have to kind of put things in boxes like that. So all of that's to say is that with Venus being in Virgo, there's going to be a little bit more of scrutiny, a little bit maybe more of second guessing about things. And so placing that on the house of Libra, Mercury's pushing these relationships or contracts or agreed upon things that he really wants to push. Again, maybe innovation, some new idea. But there may be a scrutiny about, is that what we want to push? Does that make sense? Is that kind of, there may be some refining of that. So all in all, we start off with Mercury in this place of wanting to push something, probably a little pressure on it, kind of refining it, kind of having to tool it. At the same time, we've got Jupiter in Cancer. We know Jupiter, big philosophy guy. He's, you know, he's granddaddy, jupe, he's good stuff. He's in the watery cardinal feminine side of the moon. That's nourishment, that's protection, that's his exaltation. He naturally wants to expand things that are nurturing, that are emotionally fulfilling, that really his growth is checked by, does this make sense? And does this protect the borders, the boundaries, the home? Does this, like, you know, like the crab, right? It's tough on the outside, but it protects all of its soft, juicy insides, right? That's what Jupiter wants to expand in that way. Now, if we look at the moon, she just left Capricorn and she's now in Aquarius. So as an Aquarius moon myself, there's a observational kind of take looking at from the house. It's a little bit more, Jupiter's probably wanting to expand in these areas, but he's like, does this actually fit the architectural overall goodness of what we're doing? Does this actually make sense? It's a little bit less of like, oh, this feels probably really, really good. And it's maybe like, can this expansion make sense with what we're looking to grow in? So putting those two together in a square. Oh, and I want to mention one small thing too about Mercury and Venus. They have mutual reception to one another, but they can't actually see one another. So houses right next to each other, but they're in each other's houses. I like to think of this as like they receive some support, but it's like a weird, unsettling kind of like psychic support. So like maybe if Venus in Virgo is like, I don't like checklists with just words like blue, green. Maybe it's a gradient that's pretty, like little weird things like that, that makes it a little bit more supported. And so that goes both ways between them. So if we put Mercury and we square it with Jupiter, essentially what we're kind of getting at is Mercury's going to want to push his new agenda, something innovative, something that's codependent, co-creative, kind of refining it, while Jupiter's probably having some sort of second thoughts on like, is this really good? Is this really truly nourishing? Is this really what we want to expand on? Is this supportive? Or is our emotional comfort and expansion, is it not supportive of these new kind of contracts and this innovation? So some things I would watch for, like snake oil salesman trying to maybe convince you or sell you something that's innovative that really isn't. Maybe even a positive thing could be like disparate sides coming together on a topic to bring a common sense of collective home, nationality, kind of this sense of togetherness. I think the best use of this transit is for like collaboration in like innovation or like a mutual goal of protection, home, or advancing technology for defense. A worse use case of this is probably for like overpromising on things and like signing deals without like reading the fine print, just overzealousness kind of. So once that occurs on the 1st, the next on October 6th, we have a full moon in Aries. I have coined this the I will fight for at least what I believe is the truth full moon. And that's because even though this full moon is in Aries, we still have Neptune retrograde there, painting little pictures of like half truth. Is this all like, is this everything? Like, am I fully making a decision based on the truth, or is there still some stuff not there? So as we know with the full moon, it's culmination. It's this big illumination. It's the moon has been gaining light and now she's all the way across from the sun. And this is like the brightest she's going to get. It's and in Aries, you know, cardinal, independent, drive, war, Mars ruled, confrontation. That's like full moon in Aries, big old confrontation, bring it to the light. Again, as I mentioned, that Neptune gives it a little bit of like, is this all the truth? Is this everything that I'm seeing? But with it being cardinal, there's going to probably want to be a show of force, that culmination of all of that energy in wanting to display some sort of Aries themed, whether that's war, fighting, just aggression. That's probably pretty clear. Another thing to consider is that Mars, the ruler, is in domicile in Scorpio. Adding to that fuel is that Scorpio is a deeply transformative and emotional sign. So if you've got Mars there ruling that full moon, it's giving this emotional depth to all that's going on. So it may feel like this war calling. That's kind of what comes to me, is like this, I'm feeling it and it's going. And so there's a lot of charge that's kind of building up and that gets to that. So some things to watch for that I said is really wanting to break free from a relationship, but based on emotional feeling versus the actual facts of things. Again, Neptune not seeing all the facts clearly with this moon. And then with Mars in Scorpio, that's that deep emotional, like it's just driving you to do that. Or a strong culmination or desire to take action on something that maybe is not really clearly understood. Maybe you thought you knew what it was, but you didn't have all the facts. A best use case of this, I believe, is just like to observe things, like don't act impulsively. If you probably want to cut it off, just kind of observe and wait. And I think the worst case would probably be to make like these permanent cuts or like contracts based on like what looks true, or maybe what you're feeling in the moment, or what's kind of welled up in you. I would take a step back, kind of let things clear out and dig into some of the facts. And I would actually wait, because Mercury square Pluto is on October 7th. And this could also be helpful to digging into a lot of uncovered information that may help right after that full moon. So on October 7th, we've got Mercury square Pluto. I call this Mercury, the detective, versus Pluto, the architectural social engineer. Mercury barely gets into Scorpio, feminine, watery, fixed domicile of Mars, which is great. So Mercury is there. At this point, he's investigator. We want topics: sex, death, lies, betrayal, very things that a lot of people would say intuitive. You know, when you kind of have that intuitive nature, something's going on here. That's where Mercury is. He wants to get to the bottom of it. Maybe, again, he's still the ruler of Gemini with Uranus in retrograde. Could there be new information? Could there be new something that we didn't know that we're bringing back up and Mercury's digging through it? He wants to get to the bottom and uncover it. Mars is co-present in Scorpio as well. Mars agrees. He's charging that house up. There's an emotional pull. Like, let's get to it. Fun fact, Mars and Mercury are in each other's bounds as well. So that's Mercury, dig, dig, dig. Here's, we're giving you that power. And Mercury's like, I want to know. I want to know. So Mercury is trying to find secrets, death, transformation, uncover some hidden stuff. And Mars is supporting that and supercharging it. While we've got Pluto, 1 degree of Aquarius, retrograde. He's in the fixed sign of Saturn. So he's the architect right now, Pluto is. So he's retrograde. He came in. He's started a new paradigm of like what the future is going to look like. Destroyed it in Capricorn. What are we trying to build now together as the collective? Retrograde, he's going back over essentially and trying to see what is going to work, what actually works. Now, his ruler, Saturn, is in the feminine water sign of Pisces, kind of. And when I think of Saturn and Pisces, I think erosion. I think Saturn is trying to, whatever works to build structures and what doesn't will naturally erode. It just water and rocks and solid structures. It's just like a matter of time. Because Saturn is retrograde, he's reviewing these structures and allowing whatever to kind of erode. So putting that kind of erosion type of theme on Aquarius, I get that Pluto as the architect kind of went through, and Pluto is big transformation. He wants like pow. So he went forward with an agenda. And as he's reviewing it, Saturn is allowing these things to erode that does not fit the actual future architecture. And because it's in typical Pluto fashion, it's eroding pretty fast. And so that's like changes occurring. Like maybe we made a decision and like it's kind of falling apart now with this review. So if we delineate Mercury the detective versus Pluto, who's trying to architect something and is currently crumbling, we get the detective probably wants to expose something or is looking for information that could hurt, harm, or probably isn't too good to maybe that architect, to that Pluto in Aquarius. So maybe someone of power. It could be journalism uncovering something powerful about military plots or coups or something like that. It could be because Mars is co-present with Mercury. Could be inflammatory or like warlike remarks maybe on like a set of people, or maybe even investigations into already eroding ideologies or structures, something like that. And I think the best use of this transit is certainly for like investigative research and for like finding information to negotiate using leverage. And the worst case, I believe, would be like verbal manipulation, like using whatever tactics you have to manipulate people and allowing or using your power to dominate someone either like mentally or verbally. So there's quite a bit going on in the first part that we're getting here, but it looks like Mercury's trying to get to the bottom of the case. And that's what I've got for us.
I love that. Thank you so much. That was great. And a really nice like opening sequence to the month where there's some really Marsy, there's a lot of Marsy stuff happening, and some sense of like Mercury playing a strong role in needing to know something, convey and communicate something. Yeah, I feel like that image of like an investigative journalist is like really fascinating. I will add one little thing that came across my mind as you were talking, Tim, was just that The initial Mercury square to Jupiter will be a reiteration of the early September Mars square to Jupiter that happened around the time of that eclipse. And it made me think, oh, I wonder if there's the potential for almost like going back with some diplomatic tact to a place where there was recently a heated debate or feeling of misunderstanding or some kind of power struggle. And maybe there's a little bit more mental balance being brought in around something that we could date back to that time. So that just popped in my head. That might be an angle to look at it through too.
Definitely. I definitely think that there is some story about that. And I'd been looking at that personally, as I said, because when Mars squared Jupiter, I was like, I need help. Yeah. I definitely, as you bring that up, I will look into that. I think there's a story. So
cool. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Shirazad is going to take our next section from October 11th to the 14th. There's just like a little sandwich packed with I don't know about peanut butter and jelly astrologically. Here we go. So I'm going to just put up the transits really briefly, walk you through what we're looking at here. The next little section of the month that we're highlighting for you guys is starting on October 11th when Bianca loses her face. We have the Venus opposition to Saturn coming through. And then on the 13th, just 2 days later, we're going to see Venus then going through the opposition to Neptune. And then, wouldn't you know it, it's not like we've seen this happen with other planets like Mercury or Mars or the Sun, all of which ran through this little gauntlet. Venus will then, after opposing Saturn, oppose Neptune, trine Uranus, trine Pluto. That sequence, again, we should all feel very familiar with, but it's different when we've got Venus. And part of this is her moving from her fall to her rulership. This is really interesting. And I can't wait to hear what you got cooked up for us, Shirazad.
Yeah, so we have some Venus stories here to tell, but I wanted to just mention some of the Venus significations so that you can keep them in mind, so that the themes that I'm going to mention, it might come up in any of those significations. When we think of Venus, we can think of harmony, love, pleasure, beauty, peace, style, aesthetics, friendships, desire, lust, or vanity, and daughters and female figures in our lives. So we're going to start the sequences by a fallen Venus in Virgo in Mercury's temple. And we have a Venus in Virgo in the house. I have to acknowledge that. Hi, Courtney. So Venus here, Venus in Virgo, shows her love kind of through effort. If you want to talk about Venus in Virgo, I see her as that Venus that edits what's messy and showing up when things are hard. I see her as this ride or die friend that helps me clean the kitchen at 2 a.m. after party when everyone has left. But she might also has this potential to get trapped in perfection mode sometimes. Pleasure might become like a to-do list or even like intimacy or performance review. And also it's kind of like watching like a character that can't enjoy the date because they're worried there's a spinach in their teeth, like missing that actual connection in the date happening. So sometimes we might need to remind Venus and Virgo about that bigger picture, that just that joy doesn't have to be the same all the time. And you can think of her as if you had like the Venus placements from Aries to Pisces all standing in line, I see Venus and Virgo as the Monica Geller of Venus placements. Sometimes you just have to take her to the dance floor and say, hey, let's just dance. No one is really watching you that much. but when Venus like in Virgo lets go of control, maybe that's when she discovers that messiness of love, art, and intimacy. And that's where the real pleasure maybe lives. So in almost mid-October, we're going to have Venus going through this intense and fast sequence. Venus in Virgo is going to meet Saturn, which asks us to face reality. And maybe it's going to be like a sobering experience. And like facing a limitation or something that we feel like we're restricted by. And almost immediately she moves into opposition with Neptune, where she can bring uncertainty, where this transit can bring uncertainty or lack of clarity. And then she finds support from Uranus and Pluto, suggesting that maybe through honesty and surrender, breakthroughs and deeper transformations are possible. And I see this sequence as the whole guiding us to confront limitations maybe, and dissolve illusions, and maybe being open to renewal and empowerment in Venusian areas of our lives. And during this time, because these transits happen back to back, you can maybe expect relationships and friendships feeling tested, or the way we experience desire and love changing, and then feeling like everything is foggy, not knowing what do we want. And then we might face some excitement, and then there is like an authentic passion that feels very very like empowering. And also like maybe art and aesthetics moving from self-criticism to like a glamorous dream to reinvention, and then like a lasting creativity. So I see the story of Venus here like moving through liberation, like facing that Saturnian limitation, but then moving through limitation and ultimately like a rebirth kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, I believe that everything that happens to us, as the souls that we are having this human experience, everything that we experience is an essential part in the evolution of our souls. So at the end of the day, even when experiences look maybe a little bit uncomfortable on the surface, they are good for our soul. So talking about the Venus opposite Saturn, this can feel like love under strain, let's say, when duty outweighs pleasure, let's say attraction meeting resistance. Or Venus here can confront limits, it could be limits of commitment, time, energy, or pleasure. And this can show up as frustrations or feelings of emotional coldness, maybe. It's kind of like a reality check. And then Venus opposite Neptune. So we have to consider that Venus here is in her home, in her temple, and she is way more comfortable here, and she can be herself here. She expresses her love, beauty, harmony, and pleasure through with natural ease and power, seeking balance and refinement, and she embodies that charm. She's a very charming Venus here, representing the archetype of elegance. And here it feels like that pendulum swings the other way, like from those hard truths to that Neptunian world. And it feels like you're entering like a forest that is a little bit foggy. And Venus longs for more than reality, for more than what reality can offer her here, maybe. And there can be some escape, they can be like lack of clarity. And Venus in Libra, I was thinking that she might also have some the shadow side of Venus in Libra could be like maybe that indulgence and that like intoxicating experiences. So maybe it can be a little bit slippery, about boundaries and those blurry lines, and questioning what's real in the matter of heart and desire. And then if you want to think about Venus trine Uranus, we can think of maybe fresh creativity and surprising encounters and breakthroughs. Maybe Uranus kind of like brings like a awakening experience to Venus here. Maybe like a colorful reinvention of style and like a experimentation. And then if you want to think about the Venus trine Pluto, that happens very, very at the same time almost, they can think of it as a love that transforms, like a desire that heals. This is trine. This is like a cooperation. You can think of like a beauty that can even emerge even in dark places. And after moving those limitations of Saturn, Neptunian things, and Uranus's liberation, maybe Venus here finds empowerment and has a sense of regeneration. And there are moments that maybe attraction feels faded, and there is like a healing that occurs through intimacy art or deep emotional truth. And I was thinking about what this could mean for Venus. Let's just, in terms of relationships, let's say, because that's, like a classic example. You can think of this whole back-to-back transits as let's say just feeling like an internal desire for something new in your relationship. Let's say you've had like an agreement with your partner, about a specific kind of relationship, and then you're feeling this urge and desire that maybe some of the conditions that we have in this contract between us, maybe I need to modify that a little bit because I'm feeling like a different sense about some of the things that I want to experience. And then you have to have that difficult conversation and you have to bring it up. Hey, this is me. I've been just suppressing this thing that I want to experience for a while. And then maybe you have that conversation, and, either way, you have to face your truth. You have to speak your truth. And there's different possibilities, but at the end of it, there is maybe some purification that comes out of it, that at least you spoke your truth and you stood up for what was really your desire. This is a Venus that will go through pressure. She begins from a place of tension and limitations that makes her feel the cost and vulnerability and responsibility, and she will mature up. And then maybe when you bring that up, that, hey, maybe, this agreement that we have in this relationship, maybe we should experiment things. And that makes me think of the Uranus scape that is here, like, just let's try this out and see how it works. And then maybe breaking free, maybe that Pluto trine brings that transformation. It might not be kind of it might not be simple or easy in the beginning, but at the end of it, there's like a healing sense of and a sense of clarity for Venus. And also I feel like overall with this back-to-back sequence, our Venusian values are being refined, and we might be forced to confront what's false, what's outdated, what we truly want, what is our true desires, and what is authentic. Being authentic with yourself, being authentic with other people about what is it that is the truth. And the challenges might come up because of speaking that truth. It could be, things that have been suppressed in a relationship, and things that are going to explode that weren't addressed. And I do see that there is a sense of healing at the end of it, because when you let go of that fear of losing something, or when you bring up your suppressed desires, let's say, it is at the end of the day in your favor and way better for your soul evolution than just not addressing those difficult things. So these are some of the things that I wanted to address for our Venus sequence here.
Oh my gosh, what a sequence it's going to be. That was really nice mapping. Thank you for that. Yeah. I can't help but notice that it's amazing the way that every single, like with the Sun, Mercury, and Mars all going through that same sequence over the past, whatever, month or two. In every single case, what started off feeling like hitting a brick wall then led to a kind of nebulous, disoriented, creative opening. And it was remarkable what a body load it felt for me in each case. Like I really felt heavy, like the Saturn part heavy, and then kind of disoriented and scrambled and tired and exhausted. And then everything would clear and I would be like, oh, wow, some real insights, like the downloads, rapid feeling of recovering. And as the trines were coming through. So anyway, I'm just going to be really curious to see what happens here. But the other thing is that we really do have this Saturn Neptune conjunction all the way through the winter. And that means we're going to get more of this interesting little sequence in the future. But anyway, that was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on, the next piece that we're going to, Bianca is going to take us through October 17th to 24th, about a week of space, and another really important sequence in the month of October. And Bianca, don't worry, I'm only going to cover you up briefly.
Okay, cool.
There should be a more intuitive Oh my God, did I just do it?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I'm
you
at the
did.
top.
You switched us. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, cool.
One thing that I had never tried was simply grabbing with the mouse, grabbing the actual camera, because I was looking at all the options for things to click on and, rearrange, because they have all of these layouts you can choose between, but it never struck me to look for. I'm just stupid, guys. That's
Something as simple as like clicking and holding on to a screen and dragging it.
This is so exciting though, because now we get back to our familiar formula of blocking Tim's face out, which is I'm just kidding.
I was happy to be the sacrifice this time.
I'm playing. All right, so let me roll through this sequence here.
Mhm.
We're gonna go to the 17th of October, and I'm just gonna cover Tim's face and show you briefly what's happening. Sun will square Jupiter on the 17th. That's Libra to Cancer. We're gonna go forward to the 20th next. On the 20th, we get the Mercury conjunction with Mars in Scorpio. That they've been co-present. Now they're actually coming together. On the 21st, we're then very next day going to get a new moon in Libra, which you can see if I back this up just a touch more. You can see that new moon in Libra on the 21st right there. And then on the 24th, we're then going to get the sun entering Scorpio and squaring Pluto. So a really powerful little sequence over the course of about a week. And Bianca's going to take us through that next. And I'll roll us back here to the sun squaring Jupiter on the 17th.
Mm-hmm. So what I see here on the 17th with the sun square Jupiter, the sun in fall in Libra, Jupiter exalted in Cancer in the superior position, I see this as Jupiter pressing upon the sun with the weight of its vision. So I feel like it'll be at this time we will be confronted with challenges or obstacles or contradictions that make our self-expression a little bit more difficult. And this will be a time where we're being asked to possibly develop strength and our self-identity through Jupiter's broader aims, like faith and cultural contribution, or like a moral vision. And I think this square is going to be the training ground that equips us to become like a vessel of Jupiter's purpose in the world. And I broke this down into different phases of life, but I think it doesn't have to be restricted to what phase of life you're in. I think it could relate to anyone, but I thought breaking it down into different phases of life and how you might see this show up might be helpful. So usually earlier on in life, it could be like this crisis of worldview, where you might feel yourself being pulled between two different worlds, like wanting to appear socially adaptable, smart, and capable, but then also feeling drawn to maybe a more spiritual or artistic practices that others may not understand, that your peers may not understand. And I thought a really good example of this was that movie you love, Adam, Dead Poet Society. Where the sun is like the student's individual desires for like freedom and self-expression, and then Jupiter being that like grand ideal of like living authentically, like seizing the day and integrating into higher visions of like human spirit. And this tension of the square is like that parental authority or institutional barriers that challenge the boys to embody these like ideals, and often at a cost. So, and then in the middle, maybe a middle phase of life, it could be this growth through reconciliation and like walking the walk and talking the talk kind of thing. So to be like this. At this stage of life, the square aspect is like a truth tester. Do my ideals and my deeper spiritual faith actually line up? And I think life will deliver situations where beliefs must align with action. And I thought of the novel Jane Eyre. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this book, but the book follows the life of Jane, an orphan who grows up in facing hardship. And so as the story develops, the Sun square Jupiter is at the point where there's like conflict. There's like a bit of a plot twist, a bump in the road, so to speak, where she discovers that Rochester, her love interest, is already married. Sorry if this is a spoiler alert, but she's already married. And so the tension here is like she must walk away despite how she feels to remain true to a larger moral spiritual vision. So and then heading into the later phase in life, I think it's not so much about I feel like as you get older, you tend to deal with tension more gracefully, or at least that's the hope. And it becomes less about conflict and more about how to hold differing views and merge them into one. So there's like this Jupiterian expansiveness that shines, like offering guidance or mentoring to younger generations. And it's like that person that others trust for perspective, such as like a grandfather who becomes the family sounding board. And an example of this is the Karate Kid, the mentor being Mr. Miyagi. He's patient and has like a bigger worldview of martial arts and as a way of life. And then the son would be represented as Daniel, the boy learning, to fight but also learning discipline and humility and strength of character. So I think overall this transit, the Sun-Jupiter square, is a time where faith or philosophy will challenge us to grow beyond rational self-expression and will force you to dig a bit deeper to find more meaning in life. And then that's on the 20th of October, we move into the Mercury-Mars conjunction. I titled this The Sharp Tongue and the Quick Mind. So when Mercury and Mars come together, it's like the mind sharpens like a blade. Like this is mental energy with passion behind it. It's decisive. It's like quick to cut through the confusion and really unwilling to dance around the truth. So I think communication here is going to be very direct and pointed, and this is the voice of the straight shooter, the debater, and like the passionate advocate who speaks with conviction. I think Mercury Mars is like the gift of this like incisive analysis and rapid response times. It's the courage to say what others might only be thinking. But just as sharp tool can cut, the same qualities can also wound. So there's a tendency here towards heated arguments, rash words, verbal combativeness. Sarcasm becomes insults. The decisiveness turns to impatience, and mental energy can boil over into stress or anger. That's that Mars piece. So I think during a Mercury-Mars transit, this edge is especially strong, and we're quick to argue and quick to defend, and often too fast to filter our words. So I think the key lies here in direction. This energy would thrive when channeled into a debate or problem solving or analysis. I think left without a constructive outlet, it can attract conflict and provoke hostility. So choose your battles wisely. But I also see that because this is forming right around the new moon, which happens on the 21st of October, just the next day, you'll see that Mercury and Mars are still in this conjunction. So I've thought about, when thinking about the new moon in Libra on the 21st of October, I was thinking that what are some key signatures of this new moon? And I do think that this Mars Mercury is going to conjunction is going to have quite a lot to say throughout this lunation cycle. But just to back it up and start with the new moon, we've got the sun and moon in Libra. It is the masculine air sign of Venus, and elementally, and so if we look at the sign of Libra as the environment of this new moon, we can start to think about what it is that Libra has to offer its house guests, the sun and moon, and how it's going to like shape this next lunation cycle. So with the elemental air qualities being hot and moist, it's so moist in ancient elemental theory, it's like receptivity, like this capacity to mix and join with others, and there's an openness to others, and it's very relational. And they also share this quality of moistness with the water signs, so there's a social element. But air is hot, so there's this emphasis on ideas and abstract or intellectual thoughts and ideals. And Libra is very balanced. And I really enjoyed, Adam, your video on the moon in Libra, because it had me thinking a lot about the people that I know with this Libra moon placement, and they really have the social sensibility about them, and they're very conflict averse. And these are things that you mentioned in that video, and it really helped me shape my understanding of what a Libra moon looks like. So I think that at the time of this new moon in the sign of Libra, it's a new beginnings and how we relate with each other over this next lunation cycle. And like I said, signatures of this cycle are, first of all, we've got the Venus domicile hosting this new moon, so that's a plus. And we've got Mercury Mars conjunction in Scorpio, that's still forming. And what I see happening as we enter into the dark half of the year, the Mercury Mars shifts this balance and leans towards the unseen. And I think it's by necessity that we're having to dig a bit deeper to reach new truths, new way of understanding a situation. And I loved when you mentioned, Tim, about Mercury square Pluto. You said something like Mercury's trying to uncover secrets, uncover truth. And I was like, yes, this is very much what I think Mercury's agenda is going to be all about in this next lunation cycle. Because Mercury Mars, it's sharp, it's honest, it's direct. But I think a couple things that will soften this expression is the fact that Mercury's in its evening star phase, and it's more purposeful in its follow through with the insights. Thinking back to September when we had the Mercury Cazimi in Virgo, when it was Cazimi the Sun, there was like the flash of insight, and now fast forward to October, Mercury is more in the investigative follow through fixed phase, trying to uncover something. And also something else that might soften this Mercury Mars expression is that I think with the overall Libra energy, with the sun and moon in as this new moon being Venusian, of a Venusian quality, it's going to have this balancing of social order. So yeah, I think Mercury Mars will play an important role throughout this lunation cycle as we see them hit those water trines. They also will enter into an opposition with Uranus as they cross the sign boundary into Sagittarius in November. And we also have Mercury stationing on the 10th of November around at that time, and then retrogrades back into another conjunction with Mars on the 12th of November. So not only do we have this Mercury Mars conjunction now, we also see that happening again a couple of weeks later in early November. And then at the Scorpio new moon, we see Mercury in the mix conjunct the sun and moon opposite the Uranus and Taurus at the 29th degree. So it's going to be it's going to be, yeah, Mercury Mars going to have a lot to say in this next phase. And moving on to the 24th of October, we've got the Sun square Pluto. And in the season where the darkness is overtaking the light, we've got Sun in Scorpio squaring Pluto in Aquarius. And I think it's about necessity of integrating both the shadow, integrating shadow in both the individual, like personally and collective shadows to be integrated. I don't think it's going to be enough to just wrestle with these like inner demons alone. I think we're going to be pressed to acknowledge how those shadows manifest in social systems, technologies, and future vision. I think the lesson here would be that the sun cannot shine by denying the darkness, like whether personal or collective. So I think true transformation demands the marriage of self and society and individual will and transpersonal forces. And I think when thinking about the clash between the individual like egoic drive for self-expression and the collective's deeper transpersonal will to transform, I came across a really good example in the Hawaiian culture. So we have the goddess Pele. She's the goddess of volcanoes, fire, and creation. She's famous for her passion, power, and temper, and is often described as both the destroyer and the creator. In her lava, it flows and it burns, but it also builds new land. So we've got the Pele clashing with her older sister, the sea goddess, Namakalkaha'i. And so Namakalkaha'i is tied to this like oceanic destructive and cleansing power, which could be seen as like that Pluto in Aquarius. And she is sometimes described as like a protector of order, balance, so that's in contrast to Pele's fiery, impulsive nature. And in many versions, like this conflict between the sisters is the one where it's like Pele angers her sister by being reckless with her fires, and also if you know a thing or two about this rivalry, Pele is known to have taken lovers and caused this friction and conflict within the family dynamic. But when Pele's eruptions threaten the land, Namakalkaha'i, she rises with her tidal waves to quench those flames. So I think with the sun in Scorpio is represented here by Pele's volcanic fire, like her raw emotion, desire, and this like creative force of eruption that can feel very deeply personal, passionate, and consuming. That's very scorpionic in nature. And then we've got Aquarius Pluto represented by Namakalkaha'i, Pele's oceanic sister. It's like this vast collective embodying forces of dissolution, transformation, like inevitability. So we've got the fiery ego, the Scorpio sun asserting itself with passion and intensity, yet the oceanic collective, Aquarius Pluto, rises to check and dissolve and reshape. And this is creation through clash. That's like the forging of new land when lava meets the sea. So we've got this creative clash. The struggle is not only destructive, but it's generative. Just like Pele's lava and Namakalkaha'i's tides create new islands, Hawaiian islands, the Sun-Pluto tension births transformation through conflict. So I think overall, the task is not to win outright, but to allow the friction to forge something stronger, truer, more enduring, like lava meeting the sea to create new land. And that's what I have for them. Yeah, for today.
That was awesome. Thank you. That was such a rich mythological exploration of the Sun-Pluto dynamic. I love that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, we have one section left for the month, and that is sort of our grand finale of a Grand Water Trine, which is taking place in late October. And I'm going to switch. See, now I can pull people around. I'm going to now, you know what, Bianca, it's your turn. Shirazad, you're going to be blocked. No, I'm just kidding. I pulled Tim out of timeout from the banner corner. Oh my God. Okay. Anyway, so let me outline for you. I just put late October because what's happening is we have both Mercury and Mars starting on the 24th coming through this Grand Water Trine space. Now, it's not a perfect Grand Water Trine, but this lasts, if we take this forward and pull both Mars and Mercury through it, this is going to take us all the way to, early November, the 4th, November 5th. So October 24th through about November 4th or 5th, we have Grand Water Trine flowing right along. And we're going to get reiterations of that later in November into December. And so it's really kind of a crowning transit of the year. That's interesting. Now, the other thing happening in late October on the 29th that Courtney's also going to cover for us is a brief but powerful little opposition between Mercury in Sagittarius and Uranus in Gemini that pops in as Mars is moving through the Grand Water Trine after Mercury does. So she's going to cover both of those things for us here in late October. So Grand Water Trine, little Mercury opposite.
Yeah. So Adam already did some really good coverage on this Grand Water Trine, but I'm going to throw in my own spice blend of interpretation here. And being a member of the monthly overview team, I'm also thinking specifically about how this Grand Water Trine is interacting with some of the other major astrological themes we've been experiencing in the past several months. I'm specifically thinking about all of the air and fire energy that we've been experiencing, as 4 out of 5 of our outer planets have moved into air and fire signs and are looking to settle there for a pretty extended future period. The air and fire signs are both masculine in classical orientation. They're very active and dynamic, and they can be very aggravating energetically when they're not counterbalanced by earth and water. So I think a lot of what we're experiencing with this Grand Water Trine is to sort of balance out some of those aggravating energies we've been moved into over the past year here. I have 3 ways in which this Grand Water Trine might be interacting with this heavy masculine astrological energy. So the first thing I'm thinking about here is a way in which this Grand Water Trine might be a direct response to some of the changes that have brought in through these ingresses with the other outer planets. If one of the things that's taking place in these air and fire signs, and I'm thinking specifically about Pluto and Uranus's trine, if one of the things that's taking place is the way we're thinking is changing, then perhaps this Grand Water Trine is signifying a moment of those mental frameworks settling into the body. I have an example here. If you think about ancient art, anything from the medieval period of art onwards, you'll notice you never see perspective in these illustrations. And by perspective, I'm referring specifically to the artistic technique that represents 3-dimensionality and space. You don't see foreground and background in ancient art. And I was reading a theory recently that suggested the reason for this is not that our ancient artists were bad at art somehow. It wasn't that they were incapable of the technique, but rather they didn't experience space in the same way that we do now. You'll find, as we start developing space as an important philosophical phenomena and differentiation between subject and other, that the world is made up of separate parts, then you start to see this philosophy represented in artistic form. And you can think about just the feeling that you get evoked by an image of a hunter chasing a bison, that sort of primal and sensorial experience, versus these paintings we see nowadays of an empty room with tiles and a chair and a bed. It's a very different, evocative sensation. So that sort of interplay between cognitive frameworks and how we're feeling those in the body might be something we're experiencing here as this Grand Water Trine comes through. The second thing I'm wondering is how this Grand Water Trine might be providing some sort of vessel for the dynamics that are taking place through these active places in the zodiac. If you think about one of the core ways that water operates in the natural world, it's as a carrier. I've heard nutritionists talk about, for example, one of the big reasons we need to drink water is not just for hydration, but because of the trace minerals that water binds to that's necessary for building our bodies. But a very like evocative image of the sort of fiery, like the sparky masculine energy of the air and fire signs. You can think about a mycelial network. A lot of people in the current zeitgeist like to think about the mycelial network as this wood wide web, where information and nutrients are being exchanged between different trees in the forest. And the core way that this comes about is because these mycelial networks are significant storage places for water. It's the movement of the water, this sort of smooth moving properties of water that binds to these various nutrients. Fulvic acid, for example, is a big one. And also like information bytes bound to the water being carried through the mycelial network from tree to tree in exchange with the roots here. So I'm thinking about water as somehow carrying forward in a smooth way the dynamics that are taking place through these air and fire signs. And then the third thing I'm thinking about is the possibility of ensoulment. Mnemosyne, the Greek Titan, is an image that comes to mind. Mnemosyne, she's often forgotten, which is kind of ironic because her name means memory. The word mnemonic comes from her name. But one of the things that she's known for is having given Hermes, Mercury, the lyre, which is the instrument that he plays, but also his soul. And another thing associated with Mnemosyne is her well. Mnemosyne's well was a place where the ancient Greeks, their poets, would go to source inspiration from. And the way this well worked was, it was said that within the water was like sort of bubbling around in the water were these souls of heroes that had passed. And so the poet would come and drink from this water, and it was as if the life of these long gone heroes would enter the body of the poet, and then they could retell their lives and stories in these new and embodied ways. And if you think about, well, so there's something here about soul, about song, about story being integrated with this element of water. And if you think about how meaning is developed through story and through song, on the one hand, we have these linear arcs of development, but there's another way in which meaning is built upon by spiraling around it and growing, building upon the meaning, these images that become something else as we come back to them over and over again. And I think this is a beautiful image for this Grand Water Trine, especially considering how we're going to be pinging off of the sort of anchor points with Jupiter and Saturn holding their places in Cancer and Pisces for a moment. And we'll have all of these faster moving planets coming in and like throwing in their own little pieces to sort of ping upon this soul making experience over the course of the next few months with these Grand Water Trines. The last transit of the month.
Sorry, guys. My studio, it just kicked me out for a second. Were you guys still here?
Yeah, we're still here.
Good.
We're wondering where you went.
I know. I'm like, well, I don't know where I just went. All right, let's put up the screen for our last transit that you were about to get into, Courtney. That's going to be the opposition between Mercury and Uranus. Is that where am I anticipating you correctly?
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going.
Okay.
Yes, so on October 29th, we will have the last transit of the month taking place, where Mercury in Sagittarius is opposing Uranus in Gemini. And I think this is yet another way in which we're experiencing some tempering of the sort of fast-paced energy that we might have been experiencing recently, especially with Uranus in Gemini. On the one hand, there's just the natural tension between Mercury as the host of Uranus, opposing Uranus. And then add in the fact that in the sign of Sagittarius, Mercury is in exile, suggesting that Mercury is not quite comfortable here. There's less resources that Mercury needs to express itself in a natural way. Terence McKenna is somebody who had his natal Mercury in Sagittarius opposite Uranus in Gemini. And Terence McKenna was somebody who's known for being a really innovative thinker. He wasn't confined to traditional ways of interpreting things in the world and exploring things academically, but beyond the parameters of like what was considered taboo and acceptable within academic culture. And one of the things that he's best known for is positing that that one of the core drivers of cultural development came about through psychedelic experience. And so, I mean, obviously that idea chafes against a lot of institutional perceptions around the world and institutional religions, which is a significant theme of that Mercury and Sagittarius placement. Mercury in Sagittarius too has a way of, you find a lot of the time in natives with a Mercury and Sag placement, there's this divine doubt that they carry sometimes where like that questioning impulse of Mercury comes up against the sense of faith and greater spirituality held by the Jupiter-ruled Sagittarius. So that may be one of the ways in which Mercury is sort of slowing Uranus's role at the same time that Uranus is in retrograde and sort of revising some of the ways of being that it might have invoked moving into the place of Gemini here. So I'm getting a real sense of like tempering whatever fast-paced dynamic movements might have been taking place over the past couple of months here. With all these big outer planetary ingresses into masculine signs. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, this was so good. The only thing I'll add to the Grand Water Trine scenario is that if you haven't yet watched some of the videos that I did covering the Grand Water Trine, it was a couple of weeks ago now. There's one in particular on the alchemy of water that I would recommend watching because that's a perspective that may add to some of what Courtney was saying. It kind of dovetails nicely off from some of her points. So look back in the archives the past couple of weeks on the alchemy of water for that one. But we'll be doing more coverage on all of these transits as the month unfolds. What I want to do now is tell you how you can get in touch with all these lovely people. Bianca on Instagram, it is Bianca Celine Astrology, and her website is biancaceline.com. You can book a reading there. Anything you have going on you want to mention?
Nope, just come check me out.
Right.
Send me a DM, book a reading. I'm open.
Absolutely. Yes, and yes. I want to go to, let's go to Timothy Paulden.
Yeah.
Linktree.com/Timothy Paulden. You can book a reading here.
Yes, you sure can.
Awesome. Anywhere else you want me to point people to?
Nope, you can just point them there. I have all my stuff. I'm most active on Blue Sky Friends, so my Blue Sky is there. Come find me. Let's chat.
Awesome. Very cool. Let me go to Shirazad. Is it at New Moon Inner Healing? Do I have that right?
Yes.
Yep. And then newmooninnerhealing.com.
Yes. Follow me on Instagram, and my services are all listed on my website. I look forward to connecting with you.
Yeah. If you're like, how's that Venus sequence going to impact me? Reading. You'll love it. And then for Courtney, it's dreamthewilderness.substack.com, where you can follow her musings, writings. And then on Instagram, it's at Dream the Wilderness. Do I have that right?
Looks great.
Double checking, but yeah, good. Thank you guys for contributing. This was a powerful sequence of transits to unpack together. And thank you to everybody for listening and joining us for another monthly overview. We are going to say goodbye to my co-hosts now. And next, I will be introducing you to some of the new readers on our affordable reading staff who will be coming in as replacements for the folks that you met at the beginning of the episode who just finished their year of service. So we'll do that next. But in the meantime, it was good seeing you guys, and we'll see you all again next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, on that note, I'm really excited to take just a moment before we leave today, to introduce you to the new readers on our staff who are coming in. At the beginning of today's episode, you got to know all of the readers that served in the past year, and they got to say a little goodbye and what everything meant to them. Now I'd like to introduce you to the readers who are coming in as brand new readers on staff. Just give you a little moment to get to know them, and I'll tell you how you can get in touch with all of these new readers as well. So let's welcome them. Here we go. If I get everyone here. Okay. I think that's all of us. So thank you guys for being here. It's really exciting to welcome awesome, new, talented students from our community to the staff of readers. I want to just take a brief moment to introduce each of you and show people how they can get in touch with you on the website. So first of all, the way that this works, in case people are wondering, I'm going to take you over to the website and just show you really quick, and then I'll introduce you to these folks. So you go over to nightlightastrology.com, and sorry to cover up your face there, Jeannie. Go to nightlightastrology.com, go to book a reading, click on need-based astrology readings. You're going to scroll down, and you'll find at the top we have our course directors. Scroll down a little bit more, and you're going to see our seasoned tutors. Mark and Sushila were student readers in the last group. And the reason we didn't say goodbye to them is because they are now helping out as tutors in our programs. And so they're still there giving readings. They're just in the different tutor tier. At the bottom, you will find our student readers. We're calling this our emerging talent section. And these are people who are coming through our programs, finishing our programs, or in the advanced programs, and are just really talented and need the opportunity to develop their work and their practice of astrology. So we try to help provide that. And in exchange, our hope is that this is an affordable service that can meet people out in the community who might have some different budgetary constraints, right? It's, to us, a big part of the Nightlight vision is to make sure that people can access astrology financially, that there are flexible price points for different socioeconomic backgrounds. It's very important to us. So on this tier of our student readers, you're going to find the most flexible price point that we have, and also no less talented than anyone else on our staff. All absolutely fantastic astrologers who you are going to love working with. So on that note, let me just tell you a little bit about them, and then I'll repeat how you can find them. Monique couldn't be here today, and Cassandra couldn't be here today, but I'll tell you more about them also before we wrap up. But Cassanti, introduce yourself briefly for us and tell us a little bit about your relationship with astrology.
Hey, Adam. Hey, Planet Nightlight. So yeah, I'm Cassanti. I'm super jazzed to be here. Very honored and humbled to be chosen for this opportunity. I started with Nightlight in 2021 and went through all the classes, completely changed my life. And I've been seeing clients for about the last 3 years. Absolutely love doing natal readings with people, and just super excited to have this opportunity to be able to meet more of the nightlight folks and offer some affordable readings to people.
Thank you, Kasanti. You can find Kasanti also on social media at openskywitch.bluesky.social. Blue Sky isn't something I've used yet. Do you like it?
I love it. Yeah, I left Instagram. I'm probably like the only astrologer that's not on Instagram. But yeah, I love it's kind of like Twitter, but without so much of the horrificness of Twitter.
Yeah, for real.
So it's text-based, and you don't have to stress about finding a nice picture to put with your post.
Nice. Well, thank you. Welcome to Kasanti. We're very, very glad that you're here. You're going to have a really amazing reading if you book one with Kasanti for sure. Adam, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey with astrology.
Yeah, I'm coming to astrology from the music world. So I went to music school, and I've been a professional musician my whole life. And then, like a lot of musicians, I ended up in sort of a very challenging time in my life. And my wife recommended that I get an astrology reading, and it sort of, not to be dramatic, but basically saved my life. So after that, I decided to start studying astrology. And then when I found your teachings at Nightlight, there was so much correlation between music and astrology, and especially the way you teach it with just like a deep foundation of the fundamentals. And then by the time we get to year 3, we're taking all those techniques and we're essentially almost like improvising a reading in the moment for exactly what a client needs in that moment. And there's nothing closer in my life and in my world than that to improvised music, which is the world I'm coming from. So it was just like this perfect fit. And it's all made sense to me. It's been a great journey, and I'm really honored to be here and be part of it.
Absolutely. And we're super glad to have you here. Adam has been an awesome just community member in all of our programs, contributing to really good vibes and smart, thoughtful conversations. You can find Adam at soulastrology.com in terms of horoscopes that he writes. And then again, you're going to be able to book a reading with him at that affordable price point on our website. So I'll give you that again at the end. But thank you, Adam, for being here. Really appreciate you, man. All right, Jeannie.
Yeah, hi. I'm super psyched to be here. I absolutely love that you created this program, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. I came into Nightlight around 2021. I think I started with Kasanti at the same time, and took a ton of classes at the same time. It was great. I just felt like I found community. I loved your lectures. It was just, I had studied a lot before, but it was kind of like I felt like I really found where I wanted to be. I love that you taught by demonstration. Nobody's doing that. And that I felt like that was kind of a game changer. I'm an art teacher, and to me, it's like teaching by demonstration is so important. So yeah, I feel like Nightlight was I felt like I came home in some ways, and I've just been really proud to be a part of this community.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's awesome to have you as part of the reading clinic now. We're really like Jeannie's good vibes, everyone. So if you want a great reading with a very thoughtful, artistic, sensitive soul, all of our readers, but you're going to love working with Jeannie. Jeannie Friscia.substack.com. Did I say that right?
Yeah, it's kind of where I have my random musings, because I do like to write. And so I'm definitely inspired, by the stars. And so, yeah, just very random stuff, occasional horoscopes, usually what's on my mind. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you. Rachel, what is up?
Hey, thank you so much. I am still pinching myself at this opportunity. I am so just elated to be here, and I'm really looking forward to the journey over the next year and the connection with the other readers here. I guess what brought me to astrology was just curiosity and wanting to figure it out and unravel it all. And another channel I was following at the time recommended your channel again and again. And finally I was like, okay, well, let me see what Achyuta Bhavadas is all about. And that was, I connected with your channel and signed up with you and started in November 2020 and just was hooked and took all the classes. And initially I didn't think being a reader was even a possibility for me. I was just mostly just curious and wanting to understand. But you gave such you have such a great program, and everything's so foundational. It's really helped me with my learning to really learn from the bottom up and to understand what's behind it all. And I never thought I would be a reader. I was actually coming in because I had this kind of dream of becoming an astrology editor, and which actually came true. And I did that for a little while. And then I was just consuming so much astrology content that I realized that I needed to, in order to assimilate and process, I needed to share astrology with other people. And in the process of doing that and finding my own voice. And so I've been offering readings here and there for a few years. And just absolutely love it. I love sharing astrology with people and seeing how their chart lights up and having that conversation with folks one-to-one. So I'm really looking forward to this opportunity to get to meet with more people over the next year and and continue to develop and find my voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. You can find Rachel on Instagram at infinite_kismet. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. So, and all of these folks you can find as new readers on the affordable reading service of our website. So let me take you back over there one last time. I also want to tell you that you can find Monique, who is also on our list, social media. You can find, as you can see, Monique is right there. She's fantastic. Another wonderful human. And you can find her at Monique the Medium on Instagram, where she has regular content that she creates as well. So here are our readers. If you go to the website, you're going to go to book a reading, click on need-based astrology readings, scroll down, you'll find our course directors at the top, our tutors in the middle, and you'll find some of our emerging talent at the bottom who we just introduced. Very excited to have you guys here. Thank you for coming on for a minute to introduce yourselves. And best of luck to you guys over the next year, getting all this new experience. And again, everyone listening to this, I hope you guys will check them out. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. I'm excited to tell you about our upcoming program, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. This is our first year course in Hellenistic astrology, and it begins again this November. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the course, the format of the course, and how to register. So let's go ahead and get into it. What is this course about? Well, if you are not familiar, ancient Hellenistic astrology is the earliest and original form of horoscopic astrology. All of the subsequent forms and schools of astrology that have existed over thousands of years come from these philosophical and theoretical roots. And so what you're doing when you study Hellenistic astrology is you're going back to understand the why behind absolutely everything. Why were there ever such a thing as houses and signs in the first place? How were the planets ever assigned to rule various portions of the zodiac in the first place? How do you use the categories of essential dignity, and why were they ever created in the first place? If you're someone like me, you like to know the why behind things, because once you understand the why, then you know how to use things more intuitively. So really the point of Hellenistic astrology, in my opinion, is not so much about going back and becoming a traditional astrologer or just being traditional for the sake of being traditional, as much as it is about grasping the roots of the entire system and paradigm. When you understand those roots, you have more intuition and understanding, which allow for you to be much more artful and fluid in the way that you speak the language of astrology. We call this class Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic because while it is about going back to understand the philosophical, theoretical, technical roots of the tradition, it's also about fluidly bridging those things with modern astrology and all of its most unique contributions. For example, modern astrology has given us so much psychological depth and personal depth. And so in a modern astrological setting, you're going to get the ability to explore your own character, your own psychology, and you're going to be able to utilize astrology for a process of healing and personal transformation. But when you pair that with ancient astrology, and it's almost like predictive karmic analytics, you really have a full toolkit to work with. And so that's also a great mission of ours at Nightlight, is to bridge ancient and modern forms, which is why we call the program Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. So that's just a little kind of overview of the program. If you want to know more about the specifics of the curriculum and of the the syllabus. What I encourage you to do is go over to nightlightastrology.com, click on the courses page, go to the first year course, scroll down, and you'll see this over 12 months you'll learn about. And here you're going to see more of a detailed breakdown of the curriculum itself. I can promise you that if you've studied astrology in modern context, but you've never gone back to the ancient roots, while some of these topics may look familiar to you and you go, oh, I've already learned about that, unless you've studied them from the Hellenistic perspective, I guarantee that you are not going to be familiar with this content. Hellenistic astrology is mind-blowingly new and interesting for most people. And if you've never studied it, again, don't assume that anything on this list is something you're going to be familiar with. In that way, the program is really ideal for a variety of different people, and I'll say more about that in a second. So what is the format of the course? Let's go to that next. Scroll down and you're going to see that the course includes 30 online webinars that I lead throughout the year. Over the course of a year together, I have 30 classes that are broken into different units of material. In between those classes, we have breakout study sessions with your course director and 2 TAs. They're going to lead you through Q&A sessions and tutoring sessions to make sure that you have a lot of support in between major units of study. In addition, we also have an interactive group forum discussion where you can ask questions year-round and get an answer within a business day in the student forum, where a lot of people also connect and build community. Lots of people in that forum also develop like little meetup groups outside of class. That's very common in all of our programs. It's a very community-loving, warm space where anyone's also welcome. Throughout the course, you're also going to find that for every lesson, if you're just there as a hobby student, you can just listen to the webinars. They're all recorded for you. So if you can't make the live webinars, everything is housed on the website as recordings. I'd say about 40 or 50% of our students are going to be following along at their own pace, whereas the other half might be attending the live webinars. But it's really kind of, you know, if you can attend a few and then one week you got to be gone, the recordings are always there. You have lifetime access to everything in the course, so it's not a big deal. For every lesson as well, if you're someone who wants to go really, really deep, maybe you have the intention to practice professionally, this course is set up with an optional certification exam at the end from our school, from our program. So you can, you know, if you want to build that resume and develop the credentials from our programs, you can do that, but you also, it's optional, so you don't have to. And outside of every lesson, we have recommended reading. We have supplemental bonus content, all of which is optional, but it's there for people who might want a lot more, whereas some people will take the webinars themselves, and that'll be plenty. So it's really flexible in that way. Also, this is one program within 4 years of curriculum that are meant to go together. And so most people who come through our first year program will end up taking our second year program, where we develop forecasting and prediction and transit tracking techniques. Our third year program, which is aimed at counseling and psychology, so psychological counseling skills, is our third year program. And then the Oracle Within, which is our exploration of the philosophical, spiritual roots of the divinatory oracular tradition of astrology. So there's a lot of material there. We also have another 1-year program in horary astrology for some people who want to add that predictive tool to their toolkit. So there's just a lot of material at Nightlight that this class is actually just one part of, which can be taken standalone, or for some people, they get into it, they're going to love it. You're going to hang out with us for 3 or 4 years worth of content. This program is ideal for a number of different types of students of astrology. I'll say that for starters. So let's see here. I'll stop sharing this. So we have there's a profile of the typical students who come through our courses. One is going to be people who just want a very guided introduction to ancient astrology because you've never had it before. Maybe you're only familiar with modern, and you want that guided, structured approach to learning traditional for the first time. Also, people who are brand new to astrology in general, there's no better place to start than at the roots of the ancient foundations. So whether you're a total beginner or just a beginner to Hellenistic, this is a great place to start. If you are someone who's been around astrology for a long time, but you've never had a guided, structured approach to Hellenistic astrology, again, this is a great place to start. I promise you, Hellenistic is very different than what you're familiar with, and you're going to need a guided and structured approach at some point in time. I also think for people who are looking for a lineage, which means not just a bunch of information, but a practitioner-specific based approach where you get to see a practitioner work with clients. You get to hear how a practitioner has prioritized different techniques and why. You're going to get a structured, spiritually grounded focus at Nightlight as well, where if you're looking for someone who practices astrology but also values grounded everyday spiritual practice, that's Nightlight. If you want a community that's been in the industry for a long time now, this is our 16th year of teaching programs and guiding students through trainings. So all of those things, if they matter to you, this is a great place to study. It's a warm community atmosphere. It's spiritually grounded. It's focused. It's academically rigorous. It's going to provide you the appropriate preparation for practicing professionally, especially if you go through all of our programs. But also for those who are just curious and love astrology for your own personal interests, this is going to be a great place for you to learn and grow and thrive and feel like you have a lot of support around you in the curriculum, the teachers, the community, as you're developing, what might just be a personal interest or spiritual hobby. So that is who it's ideal for. Finally, how you register. You go over to the website. I'm going to take you back there. And it's at the bottom of the first year page. You're going to find that the early bird rate is in effect until October 24th. You can save significantly off the cost of the course when you use the early bird rate, where you can pay in full, or use an early bird installment rate plan. Both are going to save you off significantly off the cost of the course. But also at Nightlight, it has always been our mission to make sure that astrological education is accessible for everyone. So please, if you are someone who would love to take this course, but maybe you can only afford a small amount of tuition per month, use the tuition assistance. It is there. All you got to do is plot, you fill out the little form, you tell us your situation. If you're on a fixed income, if you're on a limited income, if you're part-time, if you're in between jobs, if you don't make a lot and you're on that fixed budget, we understand. We don't want people to hurt themselves trying to study something that is spiritual that we feel should be very accessible for everybody. So if you're someone who could use a little help to make this program happen, for whatever reason, maybe you're a single parent or you're on disability or you're retired or you're on a fixed income, whatever the case is, use that tuition assistance. Also, people in other countries who have extreme, exchange rates. We get it. So just use the tuition assistance and we'll be glad to make sure that the price point is accessible. For us, as a spiritual topic, we're a business at the end of the day, but we believe that this is a spiritual topic. And so accessibility has been a part of our model for 16 years now. We've never not had one of our training programs with affordable sliding scale-based prices for people who need it. So please take advantage of that. It's all there for you. I hope to see you in classes soon. And if you have any questions about the program whatsoever, direct them to us at info@nightlightastrology.com. And I hope to see you all coming up here in November. Take it easy, everyone. Bye.